Okay, as always, the technologically successful as fuck show. Welcome. I am your host, Raya Gonzalez. I have one of my favorite people, Lisa Randolph, here with me today. And I'm just excited. We're going to dive in. Lisa has so many stories that this will probably be like a three-parter, like, because she has so many interesting, heartbreaking, empowering, wonderful things to share that I think that it's important as we move through this live stream and move through talking about these issues and these just points of view that we get these different perspectives. And Lisa's like all of that in one beautiful person. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you, Rhea. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
So just so everybody knows, Lisa is an amazing author. We met through my book program, and she is currently the author that my 12-year-old is obsessed with. She has a book called, was it Wildlife Divas, right?
The Wildlife Divas Adventure Team.
It's Wildlife Divas Adventure Team. Go to Amazon, get it immediately. If you have, like, the thing is the book is fun for any age. Really, it is. Thank you for holding it up because I know you're going to do that. The pictures are amazing. The story is amazing. Gabby was reading it to me out loud, and I was like, I need to know more. Like, what's happening over there? And so, yeah, it's just a phenomenal book, and I can't recommend it higher. And so, but let's dive in, shall we? So Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about, who you are and how you serve people and all of those good things.
Okay, well, I am Lisa Randolph, and I am here because I want people to know and understand and believe that they're capable of accomplishing anything they put their minds to, no matter the challenges, no matter the obstacles, no matter who says what, who gets in the way, it can all be done. And I want people to know that they don't have to be afraid to, go for their goals in life. And I started this, actually, I started writing when I was about 12 years old, but I didn't understand that writing could be a career. So I was winning awards at 12 years old for writing. But fast forward, I ended up getting married, having a baby. I was very young. So all that writing stuff got put aside, and I just lived life. I worked for 25 years for a very large telecommunications company. I retired from there. I went to work for a nonprofit organization, and this is where I found myself. It was a nonprofit organization, an after-school program for at-risk girls, and they lived in one of the toughest neighborhoods in San Francisco. And there's several, but this was one of the toughest neighborhoods. I think it says that this particular neighborhood is the largest housing projects west of the Mississippi. There were 2,000 units in this. Yeah, it's very large. And it has a lot of issues, a lot of problems. And so my program was girls age 5 to 18. And so I had all ages in this program. And, we had them divided up, the older girls and we had the younger girls. But the one thing that I saw, and it was that these girls were not seen as capable. They weren't seen as smart enough. They just weren't lifted up. And when I came in, I could see this, and I realized the only thing that these girls needed was someone to believe in them and someone that cares about them. And all I would do was give a hug, and it would change everything, the whole dynamics of that little person's issues for that day. And so realizing that, and not just that, but I also saw the genius in them, where nobody else could see in them, I could see. I know they had behavioral issues, but I could see past that and I could see exactly what they needed. And my book is the product of seeing the brilliance of these children and believing in them and telling them that they can accomplish anything. And so that's why my book is so focused on STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, because I had one, I laugh at this all the time, but I had one that broke into the school's computer and changed their grade. And I was like, you can't do that. Yes, because that's technology right there, that's a job in the tech field. And if you get a job in the tech field, that's a higher paying job that will get you out of the situation that you're living in. And so I had another one, uh, terrible behavior, terrible. I saw underneath that. She was brilliant in math, brilliant. I would have her help everybody else because she was so smart. And so where everybody else would see their behavioral issues and just dismiss them automatically, I saw underneath that and I tried to develop that part of their personalities. And so when it came to writing the book, this book was a 10-year journey. The last 5 years, I tried to get the book published. No one was interested. Everybody kicked it back. My very last attempt was I did a literary agent. I did whatever it's called. I did a pitch, and she loved it. She was like, "Oh my God, this book is fantastic. I want this book. I want my girls to read this book. It's awesome. This is going to be a 6-figure deal." And about 9 months later, she kicked the book back, saying she wasn't interested. And then that's when I got into the program, the writing program at Georgetown. And so the rest is history. The rest is history.
Well, and
So
I should mention just like a small plug for the program that we're in, because I do mention it quite a bit on the live stream, but we're in the Creators Institute. It's run by Eric Custer, who is a professor at Georgetown University. And it's a 9-month, year-long program where they take you from beginning to end of writing your book. You have a developmental editor through the first part of it that's helping guide you through your topic and helping you figure things out. And then you move into a publishing phase. And so, that's the part where you basically are able to take advantage of the resources of a traditional publisher, but at the end you publish and retain your rights to your book. So it's called a hybrid program. So highly recommend, big plug for Creators Institute, but yeah, it's, I think that's really interesting. I know that for my daughter, her after school program was very instrumental too, because there was consistency there. So year over year, they had the same people, whereas year over year, you have different teachers. And so having that consistent presence of, I want to say authority, but it's not really authority. It's just like support.
mentorship.
Yeah, mentorship and support is so important. And as someone who is at risk for different reasons, more like mental health reasons than, behavioral, there was only one person at my school that was like that for me in high school. And I will never forget her, for the rest of my life, because she actually told me that I should go into school for English. She was my AP English teacher.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't want to teach. So why would I go in for English? Because I don't want to teach. And I want to so if anyone knows if Corolla Whitman, I think she's in California. If you know Corolla Whitman, please, for the love of God, connect her to me. It's Whitman because she is German. But she's an amazing, she was very hard. And so a lot of people didn't get her, didn't understand her. And even myself, I didn't understand her. She had very high standards for us. But because it was an honors program, I had her for 2 years in a row. So we got to know each other. And when some really hard things happened at home, she like I had to tell my teachers, and most of them were like, oh, okay, I'm like, whatever, and she was like, okay, how can I support you? Like, what do you need right now? And I'm like, I'm going to be really tired in class because I can't sleep. She's like, okay. She's like, this is an AP class, so you're going to have to perform, but I'm going to give you flexibility. You can have extended deadlines. Like, and then I would fall asleep in her class, and she would just come behind me and gently put her hand on my shoulder. And she's like, Raya, it's reading time. So you need to like wake up, instead of like coming down on me, embarrassing me, all those types of things. And so, the fact that I'm writing a book, it just is like, it like warms my heart, because that was somebody who, taught me. And AP English, for those who've never taken it, it is like mathematical. Like, there is a very specific equation that you have to do. You have to read a text and then respond to it in a very specific way. And so you have to memorize that. And she said to me, like, she actually paid for my AP test because I did not have the money to do it. So she paid out of her pocket for me to take the advanced placement test. And because she's like, why haven't you submitted your thing? And I was like, I don't have the money. Like, I can't do it. And she's like, oh, you're taking it. She's like, you are the only person in this class that I know that cannot fail that test.
Wow.
And so that kind of mentorship is like, just to be seen when you're in a spot that's so difficult, like at home or with your peers, or you're working a lot, or, you just feel lost and no one sees you. It's so important, like, and I think I've been asked a couple times to speak at a dance team's, like camp in the summer. I've done it the last couple years, and I get more out of it than they do. And I just like put all my shit on blast, and I'm like, look, this is what I was thinking when I was your age. So I know someone in here is thinking that. And I'm just telling you right now that, like, yes, you are a kid. Yes, you should hold on to that as much as you can, but you're also facing adult problems. And I want you to know that I see you. Like, I validate your pain. I validate what you're doing, and you're doing a good job. You know how I know? Because you showed up to practice.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening in your life, you're here. So I want to give you like all the kudos, all the props, because you're here. And I think there needs to be more of those conversations where people look past, whether it be 5 years old or 18 years old, look past what's happening and look underneath. What's going on underneath? What are the gifts underneath? How can you pull out what's beautiful about that person? Because we all have it. We all have something that's beautiful. So I love that you did that. And I love that you were able to, bring that into your stories of, girls who are, like, some of them troubled or whatever, but you can see that they have these gifts. And yeah.
I'll give you an example. So I had one, she was about 13, 14 years old. And this was the maddest, the most angriest 13, 14-year-old I've ever met in my life. And so whenever she would come and I'd say, you have homework today? No, I don't have any homework, attitude. I don't have any homework. I don't have any homework. Every single day. I know she had homework. But one day I found them looking through a little novel that they all were, sharing this in one little novel. And I said to her, I said, look, if you do your homework, I will buy the next 2 books in that series for you and the rest of you. And she's like, really? I was like, yeah. I said, as a matter of fact, come on, we're gonna do this right now. And that's when Amazon used to have books for a penny, the used books for a penny.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I bought every last one of them, the next 2 books in the series. And the very next day she came in, she says, Miss Lisa, do you have a newspaper? I said, a newspaper? What do you need a newspaper for? She says, I got to do my homework.
Oh,
And so she graduated from UC Santa Cruz on a full scholarship. And, you know, so that just, oh,
That
if
like makes me want to cry.
I
You know what I
know
mean?
it does. It does. It's like if I had something to do with that, you know, that was my ultimate goal to see past this angry child. And she had every reason in the world to be so upset. Her background, I don't even want to talk about it. It was terrible. And so for me to be able to get underneath all that stuff she was going through and to get her to start doing her homework and to get a scholarship and go to college and graduate. And she has a wonderful life now. And so that right there, that's what this is about. That's why I'm
Mhm.
so passionate about it. And unfortunately, the program closed. We had to close our doors. We lost funding. And that was, I think I was depressed for like 2 years behind having to
Yeah.
shut that program down because I knew how necessary it was. And even today, I worry about some of the younger girls and where they are right now, because the other girls are now adults now, you know, but
But look
yeah,
at what you're doing. Like the thing that's so beautiful about what you're doing is you're um allowing those other girls to see themselves in a book.
yes,
And nobody is writing that way. Nobody is writing for that young lady.
yeah,
Or other young ladies who are lost and, you know, and are not able to process what they, you know, what they're going through, and they don't have any characters, you know, like they don't want to read because there's nobody who looks like them, feels like them, is processing the things. Again, you're a child, but you're facing very adult situations. You know what I mean? So like that's a different dynamic than a child who has a stable environment.
and
Is, you know,
that was
they're
a
allowed to be fully a child and develop the way that, you know, that the good Lord intended that they develop. And, you know, when you go through trauma as a young person, you have a different set of views on the world. And to have somebody who represents that in a story that's fun, a story that's empowering, a story that says anything is possible. I think that you're extending that legacy through what you're doing with these books. So
that's my
keep
hope.
writing those
That's
books.
my hope. I have eight, there's 8 books in the series. So I'm working on 2 and 3 right now. And so every year I'm going to put out 2 books until I get the series finished. So
I love it.
yeah, and then I've had some really incredible things happen behind the book too. It's just
Yes. Oh, tell us about, because that's incredible too. So before we move further, in that point in your career, in that point, like was success, like measuring success, was that what happened with the girls? Like the fact that they were able to feel better inside enough to like further themselves into a different place?
so yeah, that success for me when I was with this program was having one of these girls understand who they were, who they are, um, what they can accomplish. And so that's how I measured, you know, small successes is with each girl. I had one that in the second grade she couldn't read, period. She couldn't read. So I made a book of, you know, sight words, you know, it's a little story of sight words. And I printed it out and I gave it to her and I said, I want you to read this every night until you know all the words. Read it to your mom, read it to your sisters, you know, just read this book until you know everything in this book. And one day her mother came up to the program and she she says, everything you tell her, she listens. She says, Miss Lisa said to do this. Miss Lisa said to do that. And so that was a success for me that I'm about to cry. Just
Yeah.
understanding that I have their best interest at heart, that I want them to succeed, that I want them to thrive. And so that touches me so much when I know I have that influence and could make a difference in this child's life. So that's success for me. I'm about to cry.
I mean, I am too. Like that's the thing, and that's the point really of that's the point of my book. You know, like it doesn't have to be that you know, like, so the girl that got the full scholarship, that's an amazing success. But the fact that the little girl was able to take your instruction and go and read to everybody, that's also just as successful
That was
as getting a full ride. You know what I mean? Like, these are the little things that we need to pay attention to. And I said it, I had Travis Sackett from the program yesterday on, and I said, like, we need an adult sticker chart. Like, we need like the gold stars, and like give ourselves a gold star when we do something good.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be something huge. It's like, it's the little things, because our life is a series of little things. And so if we were waiting for the big things, we're going to wait a long time, and we're going to miss a lot of things that could have brought us more satisfaction, maybe not joy, but sometimes joy, you
I
know?
think we do that a lot. I think we miss the point sometimes because we're so busy focusing on this huge accomplishment that we don't see the smaller steps that it takes to get to that point. And I think we miss a lot because we're so focused on everything else. And you're right, it is the small things, the small increments of success that build up to the bigger ones. Yes,
Yeah.
at least some people have to take it that way. Some people can just jump straight to it, but I was a small increment of success type of person. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this like gets me so excited, but tell me a little bit about the response to the book and what types of things have happened to you since the book has been out.
my goodness, this will take another hour. So, well, one thing is my book went number one new release on Amazon just for a couple days, but I got that spot. I screenshotted it, so I have it permanently. And but the thing behind the book was, and it came from a simple post on Instagram. And actually, it was me reaching out to someone because I had never seen anyone mention the particular rainforest that my story takes place. And so I messaged this person. I said, "Oh, I'm writing a children's book, and it takes place in this forest. When my characters they're coming in to save mountain gorillas." And so we started talking, and for a week, um, I would be up at 2 o'clock in the morning because their time is it's like a 12-hour flip. Like,
Right.
yeah. So we would be online chatting every night for about a week. And finally he said, "You know what? You need to come here, get your feet on the ground, and actually go into this rainforest and see these gorillas for yourself." And I was like, no way, I can't can't do that. Next thing I know, I'm on a plane going to Uganda. And not only did I get there, but he set it up so that I could meet a gorilla doctor, um, an actual veterinarian that goes out and takes care of the gorillas in the rainforest. I met the Ugandan Wildlife Authority, the executive director there. I had an interview with him. I only had a manuscript at that point, and I sat down and I gave him a chapter by chapter synopsis of the entire book, and he was captivated. And when we finished with this book, he says, "I'm supporting this." Even on the back of my book, you might not be able to see it, but this is the Ugandan Wildlife Authority's emblem because they support this book. Not only that, but they want to come here to the US for my book launch, which had to be canceled because of COVID. So there's COVID restrictions there now, so they can't come. But they're going to try again in April, and they want to do a documentary. It's
Oh,
mind blowing the things that are happening. So they want to do a documentary about how this book came about, and me writing the book. And so we'll be doing some visiting to some schools, there's another program in that neighborhood where I work, so we'll do some stuff there. It's just so much is happening with this. At the very end of the meeting, he said to me, "This should be a movie." And I go, "Oh yeah," I poo-pooed it, right? So I was like, "Oh yeah, my son says, I should turn it into a cartoon." He says, "No, this should be an action movie." And I'm like, "What?" So it's just all these things are happening. So when you talk about, successes and how they happen in increments, when I started writing this book 10 years ago, I never expected anything like this to happen. I expected to write a book, get it to some kids, get it into a school library, and that's it. But it's gone way beyond that. And I always say it's not me that's doing it. I'm being carried through this because I don't have the personality to go out and make these types of things happen. So it's happening. And not only that, but I just had a meeting with them last week, and there is another program they want me to join in on. So one of my books is actually going to be written about this other program. So I'm gathering information, doing my research on that now. And they will promote my books throughout, not just in Uganda, but throughout the continent of Africa and to different countries. And all this stuff is happening, and you talking about successful and as fuck.
Yeah.
It's been incredible. Here's the last thing. They want to nominate me for an ambassadorship. So I just got this last week, and it's just like all this stuff is happening, and it's the most incredible ride I've ever experienced in my life. I never would have thought this would have happened to me, ever.
I love it. I love it. And I think, I mean, that's the thing is like when we are paying attention to the small things, sometimes we stumble and fall onto the big things.
Yeah.
And sometimes they look like a gorilla.
With my friend here.
Yeah.
And like I've had a lot of things happen during this process, things that would have made me want to quit. I did want to quit at one point because I had so many other things in my personal life happening. Like my husband died in the middle of this. And although we were separated, there was no animosity or anything like that. I was actually at the hospital. I held his hand. I had my hand over his heart when he took his last breath. And okay, I'm not gonna cry, but so I had that happen in the middle of this. And when I had to report my husband's death, my company, my former company, somehow they got it mixed up and they reported me deceased.
Oh my God.
And not him. And so I was dead. I mean, all my benefits were being shut down, all this stuff was happening. I'm like, what in the world's going on? I'm in the middle of this process of writing a book, and now I have to deal with all my my benefits being shut down one by one by one. And every time literally it took me 27 calls to get this undone.
And you're grieving.
And I'm grieving in the middle of it. It was terrible. And I wanted to quit because I was so frustrated. I was looking for this picture. In the middle of it, I found a picture of a phoenix rising. And I said, okay, you know what? You've been declared dead. You can let nothing get in the way of what you're trying to accomplish. Nothing, not even death. You're dead on paper, you're coming back to life, and I'm going to be a phoenix rising. And from this point forward, nothing, I will incinerate anything that gets in the way. Yeah, because I am on fire right now. So
yeah, you are, girlfriend.
Anything gets in the way, I'm going to burn it up,
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I know it's been like a really interesting, like this has been a hard book in some ways for me to write because you have to take a hard look at yourself and your own, take accountability for your own things. And even if I can imagine that even writing a children's book, you're processing certain emotions and going through certain things, thinking about children that you've worked with, thinking about yourself as a child, reprocessing things like that. And so for me, it's been a really beautiful and really excruciating process. But so healing at the same time. And it's funny because like my dad said to me last night, he's like, I just want you to know that like whatever you need to say is okay with me. Like I can take it. And I was like, Dad, this is not an expose. Like this is actually about how I have fucked up so much, but I'm still successful and I still embrace who I am and I embrace the mistakes that I've made and that I'm going to make and that I continue to make and I'll make today. You know what I mean? Like, but like this I do have to talk about certain things, but that's not the point of the book. Like, it's really not. And so I was just like, I mean, this little one line you might be a little offended by or like feel sad about, but that's like it. So I don't know, like process that, I guess, you know. But it's just like how this process of going through writing a book really pulls out of you, at least if you're doing it right. Like it like
It's
really
not for the
pulls it all
faint-hearted.
out of you. You know what I mean? Because people ask me like, how do you have the word count that you do? Because I'm currently at a word count that you could publish. Like the book is not publishable, not even close. But like I'm truly submitting a shitty rough draft when I submit my manuscript. But they're like, how are you at that word count? And I'm like, because I'm just telling my story. I'm literally just letting it bubble up and flow out of me. And it's not good, but it becomes good. You know what I mean? Yeah. As you refine and you refine and you refine, you just like let it flow out of you, and whatever inspires you, whatever. And this was supposed to be a business book. Like this was supposed to be a satirical, dark humor, funny business book about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. That is not what this book is about. Like this book goes deep into shit that I have done that I am embarrassed about, that, you know, whatever. And so I just think it's like really beautiful that if you haven't done it before, if you don't think you're a writer, it's okay. You can still be a writer. Like you just, everybody has a story, and you don't even have to share your stories. Tell somebody else's, or make a story up, or whatever it might be. But it's
fiction. So
like just like it's something that can be very, very healing and very adventurous. Like that I don't know. It's just like, it was a bucket list thing for me. That's why I did it. And I'm so glad that I'm doing it.
Let me ask you, okay, you did say this already, but the book has a tendency to find its own voice. And like you just have to follow along with it, because it's not what you intended to write, but it takes on this life of its own, and you just have to go with it.
Yeah.
Like even with my characters, like they talk and I have to listen to what they want to say.
Yes.
And then write it down. You know, it's like this is them talking now. It's an interesting process, and it is not easy. It's not for the faint of heart. People think writing a book is easy. It's not. It's work. Yes. It is work, but fulfilling.
Very. And the hardest part about it is when you fight what you know is inside. You know, like when you fight listening to what, because you think it's going to be bad, or you think that it's not going to be good enough, or you think you're going to offend somebody. Like even having the title Successful as Fuck, I have like, because I thought maybe I'll just do Successful AF, like maybe that'll be more like acceptable for people. And I do refer to it in some audiences that way, but you know what? I fucking swear, I fucking love the fuck word. So, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to say it. Like, that's just how I am. And I wrote this book for me. And that's how I would pick up that book. I would say like, what's this about?
You know that someone's going to be offended somewhere along the line, on this side, on that side.
Totally.
So you cannot write for them. You have to write for yourself, because somebody's going to take it the wrong way, no matter what. So,
yeah, absolutely. Well, Lisa, as I said, this is only part one of of 16 parts, because we have scratched the surface of Lisa Randolph.
There's a lot more.
Scratched the surface. So, but for this one, I would love to know, what is a piece of advice that has really stuck with you, or a mantra, or something you've read or heard? What's something that like gets you through when you're having a difficult time?
So you know the saying, like, the sky is the limit?
Yes.
The sky is limitless.
Yeah.
There is no limit. And when I think about that, I think about where I am right now. And if I had thought there was a limit to the sky, I don't think I would have accomplished this. So knowing the sky is limitless, there's nothing to hold me back. There's nothing to stand in my way. I can accomplish anything I put my mind to.
I love it.
The sky is limitless.
I love it. Well, that, my friends, is an excellent way to wrap this episode of Successful as Fuck. As always, I am your host, Raya Gonzalez. This is our guest, who will be our only guest for the rest of this series. Just kidding. But that's like a dream. I love talking to Lisa. We are here with Lisa Randolph. Please buy her book, Show Us Yes. So, Wildlife Divas Adventure Team. Get it on Amazon. It's amazing. If you don't have a young lady in your life directly, buy it and give it to your school library. That would be an excellent thing to do. Give it to a teacher that you love and know. It's amazing. It's wholesome. It's fun. It encourages young women to do and achieve great things. So, Lisa, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Rhea. Thank you.
And we will see you next time.
All right. Take care.